So, what questions do you guys have? I know that Michael and Russell said, yeah, you didn't give me the answers. And I go, I know, but I gave you the questions. Isn't that like cheating in most other classes?
We have like 15 of the answers.
Do you have a specific question about a specific scenario? I'll do that for you. First 10. We don't have time for 10.
No, how much of a vocab from chapter 1 you need to know? Because like I was looking back, I don't even remember what stratified.
Oh yeah, that's good.
All these things I'm like, oh gosh.
Okay, so general questions about the test. So somebody kind of asked a similar thing. So I'm going to post both videos from both classes. Somebody kind of asked a similar question. So as far as the written test, okay, we covered 14 chapters. If I go 2 questions per chapter, that's 28. I'll probably have about 30 questions. They'll be less mathy. Not that there will be no math, but they will be, the complicated stuff like and chapters like this probably won't be on there. But it'll be more conceptual type questions. Plan on about 2 per chapter, 2 or 3. So there'll probably be, I would say roughly about 30 questions. That's a good ballpark. I'll probably have to, probably I could do that. I didn't think about that. I could probably go 2 questions per chapter and 2 scenarios. That'd be awesome. I think that's a good idea. I just thought of that. Okay. And then on the computer part, so haven't written it yet. I don't know what I'm going to do. I think last semester I gave like 3 problems, but they were like A through L parts. It was kind of terrible to grade too, so I don't know if I'll do that again. We'll see. But it's great. I mean, basically, it's like here's some data, do everything you can with it. That's basically what it is.
How much of our grade is the final work?
30% of your finals were 30% of your grade. Okay. So by the way, just as a reminder, I'm pretty sure I posted the grade calculator on an announcement. Who's used it? Most often, especially the people that are here, probably your grade is better than what it is on campus, right? Yeah, it's the people who aren't here, probably not. But yeah, so check that out. We still got a couple of quizzes this week. Do you know what the quiz is going to be on tomorrow? Scenarios, yeah. So if you have a specific question, we'll go over one of them. Maybe it'll be on the quiz tomorrow. Who knows? Maybe not.
So wait, so there's 30 questions for the written test, but 2 will be conceptual from each of the chapters, or are you saying that there's going to be?
I mean, don't hold me fast to that, but yeah, as a general rule, I'll plan on about 2 per chapter, maybe a couple of scenarios. That's probably what the written final will be. Computer final, I haven't written yet, but I did one. I flew to Italy like right after the thing. I was on and that's like a freaking 12-hour flight. It was ridiculous, and I didn't even finish on the plane. I had a plug. I was so excited. Oh, I got a plug. I'm good. I got all the way to Italy, and I still had stuff to grade. It was irritating.
So for those who've been in class, you said our grades will come for FY stuff?
What'd you say?
For those who have been in class?
Because more than likely, especially if you have 80% or higher on your quizzes, let's say you got 80%, just use a nice easy number. You got 80% on your quiz score. 80 divided by 80 is 100%. So I'll give you 100% to replace your lowest test score. So that'll make your grade go up. Okay. Now, having said that, I had a student who came to me just a couple of weeks ago, and he was like, I don't think you did my grade correct. Because remember, I said I would replace it. Well, the spreadsheet will replace it for you. Don't replace it. Don't double replace it. Then the spreadsheet won't work right. But yeah, just enter your grades in as Canvas shows you, and the spreadsheet will replace it as needed, and then it will calculate properly.
So it'll replace it with 100%, or it'll just drop the grade?
It'll take your lowest score and it will replace it with 100% in that case. Okay, now the people who don't come to class that have like, 12% on their quiz grade, that's not going to help you. Then, well, yeah, because unless you get a 0, you'll replace the 12% with 0. Okay. So, yeah, but for 95% of people, Canvas is lower than what your current grade is. Yes.
Can we go over A6 on the scenario?
A6 on the scenarios? And A5? All right, let's see if I can pull up my scenarios here. A6. Scarlett works for a food magazine. She's reviewing the hottest new trendy dinner spot in town. The place is packed. She is interested in knowing if men and women prefer the same appetizers. She has a sampling tray and spends most of the evening passing out samples and asking the patrons which of the 5 appetizers they like best. She records the data and will later determine if the preference profile is the same for men and women. Which hypothesis test will she use? Okay, so let's kind of go through our steps. Okay, what's the first step you should ask yourself? Is it quantitative, categorical, or regression? Should we vote? Who says it's quantitative? Nobody? Who says it's categorical? Bunch of people who says it's regression. One regression? Categorical is the answer. Why did you think it was regression? You just, it was, okay. All right, categorical, that's correct. Okay. All right, so then the next question can either be what type of test or what's the null hypothesis? Which question would you like next? The null hypothesis? The null and the alternative hypothesis.
The null would be that men and women like the same appetizers.
Men and women like the same appetizers. Okay, you guys agree with that?
No.
Who agrees? You don't agree with yourself? Who disagrees? 5 people disagree. Who doesn't know? Come on, there's a lot of people that don't know. I only got 5 hands. What do you think, Shay? Okay, you think P1 equals P2. Okay. Okay, well that's the same. So if we change that to P women and P men, that's the same thing as Shay said. Okay. Who agrees with Shay? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. Who disagrees with Shay? You should have disagreed. That's not right either. Okay, how many appetizers do we have? 5. So you got to have P1 equals P2 equals P3 equals P4 equals P5, right?
So would it be all means are equal, or all whatever?
Okay, so both of these are wrong. Okay, so Caitlin's going with all means are equal. Who thinks that's right? 1, 2, 3. Who thinks it's wrong? That's wrong. 3 strikes, you're out. Okay, why could it not be? So means is actually, so that was actually a good wrong answer because you're seeing the 5 there, right? Why can it not be all means are equal? Because it's not categorical. That one's only for quantitative data, right? This is categorical data. Yeah, there's a clue.
More than 2 proportions.
More than 2 proportions would be called what?
Chi-square something.
Chi-square something test. Okay. So that's the next answer. It's going to be some sort of a chi-square test. Which one? Maybe we should have went with that question first.
More than 2 proportions.
Okay, more than 2 proportions. What's that called? Nope, not goodness of fit. You guys love that test. Test of independence. Okay. Now that we know it's a chi-square test of independence, what should the null be?
Okay, hold on. Why are they independent? Because it's the same people eating them. And when we had the wine tasting one, they were dependent because it's the same people tasting the wine.
Okay. So he says, why is it independent? Because the same people are tasting them. What? Okay, let's do the null and the alternative hypothesis, and then maybe you can we'll answer Christopher's question there. Preference of appetizer is independent of gender. That's the real answer this time. Okay? And therefore, so what's independent? The genders are independent, okay? Now, Christopher did bring up a good point. He said, but they're tasted all of them. Yeah, but they're going to pick the one they like the best, right? So we're still saying that the men are independent from the women. Okay? This one does get a little bit sticky because you could kind of argue that, but we're saying that the men are independent of the women. Technically, we would have to independently pick them, or we'd have to randomly select the men, and we'd have to randomly select the women. I didn't say that they did that, but we'll assume that they did. Okay? Got to make the test work, right? So the alternative hypothesis should be preference is not independent of gender. Okay, that was a good one. Let's put that one on the test.
Yes, please.
Yes, now that we know the answer, it's fair game, right? All right, so, okay, let me make sure. Okay, so you go through your chi-square test of independence. What are you going to have to do? Tell me what, just describe to me what you're going to have to do.
You have to have your charts.
Your charts, your tables, right? So this is going to be a table. You're going to have men and women, and you're going to have appetizer 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then, or you could do it the other way. You're going to have to find your, so this one's going to be a table. Here, let me draw it. We'll do it here. So essentially what we're going to see here is we're going to have, and it doesn't really matter, you can have men and women, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You're going to have a table that looks like that, right? And you'll have to put the value, you get your observed, then you find your expected. So you can need 3 tables like this, right? Okay. Now, does it matter? Could I go men, women, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5? Would that be okay?
Yeah.
That would be fine.
As long as you're consistent.
Doesn't matter. That would be perfectly fine as well. Okay. All right. Was there a question, Shay?
Yeah, is the independence test in more than 2 proportions the same?
More than 2 proportions, yes, that's the same thing. Yeah, so that, yeah, the clue, the 5, because people do mix up the independence test with the Anova test, okay? Anova is for quantitative data, independence is for categorical data. Okay? So yeah, remember, so we said that the paired and the independent, those are the 2 people mix up. This is also the 2 people mix up. Okay? So that's why question number 1, categorical or quantitative, is so important, because it'll tell you which test to do in this case. Adam.
ANOVA for quantitative independence is for
categorical data.
Go over A5.
A5. Okay. Now before we do, let me just do this really quickly, because I want to make sure that we're still not having a problem with our conclusions here. So I get a p-value equal to 0.45. Okay. That means do not reject as Carl said, and your conclusion is there is not evidence that gender is not independent of appetizer preference. Or, yeah, it doesn't look like the men and the women are any different, right? Essentially, that's what we're saying. There's not a difference. Okay? Yeah, I wrote it backwards, that's fine. Okay? All right, so A5, you wanted to go over that one?
Yeah.
Dave is a physics teacher at South High School. He's teaching students about measurement, error, and statistical inference. He has 254 students throughout the day. He went out to the football field one day and painted 2 lines on the field about 110 feet apart. He had his students measure the distance between the 2 lines one at a time, and each student was assigned one of the following method to measure using a ruler, a 25-foot measuring tape, a rope that was cut to 10 feet that had no other markings, and pacing off the distance and estimating. Each measured the distance using one of only 4 methods. They were told not to discuss their measurements with anyone. The number of students doing each method were approximately the same. Dave wants to see if the measured distance is the same for all 4 methods. Which hypothesis test should he use? What's the first question?
What kind of data?
Is this quantitative, categorical, or regression? Who says it's quantitative? Who says it's categorical? Who says it's regression? Alex, no regression? Okay, it's quantitative. We'll bust through this because we're out of time. What's the next question?
No.
No. Is all means are the same, the alternate, at least one is different. Okay, what kind of a test is this? It's an Anova. Yeah, it's not a test of independence. It's an Anova test, which is an F test, right?
Well, for 2 means we would do the t-test, but because it's more than 2, we use.
That's correct. So if it was 2, we would use a t-test, but since it's more than 2, we use Anova. That's correct.
If you would only give 2 methods, we would use the t-test.
Yeah, if it was only 2 methods, we would use the t. Which t-test?
The 2.
There's 2 means.
Give me 1 second.
2 means independent, yes.
So this is like a hypothetical question.
Okay?
Could you do, so if we have the 4 different methods, could
Uh-huh.
we do a 2, or the 2 test instead of the Anova with each of them, and then have that replace the Anova and the 2E test?
Say it again.
So if we have the 4 different methods.
You got 4
method
methods.
1 with method 2, and then method 1 with method 3, and then method 1 with method 4.
Yeah, that's a lot of work though,
And
right?
just do like, and then.
Yeah,
and then-
so, okay, so for those who couldn't hear, he goes, I got 4 methods, we're gonna go 1 versus 2, 1 versus 3, 1 versus 4, and then 2 versus 3, and then 2. Yeah, you could do that.
And then.
But why do that when you can do the Anova?
Test and
I know the Anova is a lot of work, but it's less work than what you just described.
But hypothetically, that would work.
The Anova test is a better test than doing that, besides the fact that it's a lot of work, because it takes into account the variability.
Okay.
So, all right. So quiz tomorrow is on scenarios. Yep, see ya.